Hello, welcome to the 2021 CUUC Captain's Meeting. Uh, uh, I'm Andrew Batchelor, Ultimate Canada's Competition Director, and we've got 7 people here now. So just give it a little bit of time. Maybe more people will trickle in. Oh, and now we're down to 4, 2. Okay, if you have some questions, then leave them in the chat. I'll answer them as I see them. We're gonna go over the captain's package that was sent out, I think last night, maybe this morning. Let's start with at the top. So logistics. There's plenty of parking at the Credit View Sandalwood Park. First aid. Athletic therapists will be on site near Dis Central. Taping is free. However, the actual tape costs money. So it costs $5 for tape if you don't have your own, but if you bring your own tape, it's free. Hello, Devin. There's no field food available at this tournament. However, there will be a food truck available on site from the late morning to late afternoon. Sorry. Please plan accordingly. Bring your own food is probably the best plan. There's water on site. We will refill the jugs. There's lots of toilets on site. There'll be some porta potties set up, and there's also a couple buildings that have indoor washrooms. Make sure to clean up all the garbage, and there are going to be observers at this tournament. So I don't think we've had any observers at university tournaments yet this year. So this will be your first time working with observers for many of you. Safety protocols. Okay, this is the interesting part. Vaccine requirements. The event requires all participants to be fully vaccinated. That includes all your coaches and staff and that are all on site. Fully vaccinated means that you've had at least 2 doses of a vaccine at least 2 weeks ago, or 1 dose of a Johnson & Johnson. We are going to be confirming vaccines for every single athlete and coach and admin that's coming onto the site. The way this will work is the first day that you get on site, you will come to the pavilion that is behind Field 21. That's where Dis Central will be. We will be set up ready there to check your proofs of vaccinations, whether that's one letter that you have from your school saying that all your athletes are vaccinated, or whether if it's individual proofs of vaccine for every single athlete. You bring that information to the pavilion at Dis Central behind Field 21. And in exchange for all that verification, we'll give you a bracelet. That bracelet you will wear for the entire event. It'll be proof to all your opponents and teammates that you have been vaccinated and you are safe to and you are following the safety protocols. So we ask that you not show up more than, let's say, an hour 15 before your first game. That way we can have, especially unless you're playing the first time slot. If you're playing the first time slot, just come to the pavilion as soon as you get there. If you're playing after that, then don't show up while we're checking the people that are there for the first time slot. So come appropriately before your first time slot to get your vaccine bracelets. So, and it says here, check-in will open at 7:45, so an hour 15 before the start of the first games. Teams with a first round bye do not check in until after 8:30. There we go. And again, teams only need to check in once. That bracelet's good for all 3 days. All participants are expected to follow the vaccine requirements. If an ineligible athlete participates, they and their team are subject to Ultimate Canada event discipline procedures. This may result in individual ejection and team disqualification from the event. So make sure that you are all following the safety protocols. Ultimately, we are following the return to play guidelines. So that includes the following important points: that masks are required for all attendees in the following circumstances. during check-in. So when you get out of your cars, put your mask on, walk to the check-in with your proof of vaccination and photo ID in hand. You also need to wear a mask while you're at the medical tent and in any situation where physical distancing is challenging outside of gameplay. So perhaps in line at the food truck would be another example where you probably want to wear your masks. Masks are recommended at all times when you're walking the grounds. The return to play guideline wants teams to be on opposite sidelines. This is possible for fields 1, 2, 3, and 3 through 8. Those fields are set up individually. Fields 9 through 24 are paired fields, and so it is not possible to have people on opposite sidelines because the opposite sideline is the opposite sideline of the next field. So as a result, teams will have bench areas on different ends of a playing field. So I have this map of a Frisbee field right here. So if there's another field right here, that means one team sets up in this part and the other team sets up in this part. And you don't walk between the two zones. You stay in your half of the field. And nobody goes on this sideline at all because it's another field. And when not playing, players should stay inside their bench area. If players or team staff are walking the sideline outside of the bench area, if, for example, going to the bathroom, then you should be wearing a mask. No players or team staff are permitted on opposite sidelines. Okay. And then there's individuals that are not actively playing and equipment must stay at least 3 meters from the sideline when your team is on a bye. Okay, and then when your team is on a bye, clear the sideline to allow the next teams to take your place. That's very important, especially with the pools of 3 we have. So one field will have 3 teams playing two games each on it. So you absolutely have to, when you're done your game, get out of the way to let the next team come in to take that spot. Okay. Each and every day, captains and coaches are required to confirm attendance for contact tracing and ensure that all team members and staffs have done the pre-screening COVID measures. So that is that before you come to the site, the captains and coaches should be talking to every single player on their team to make sure they answered their pre-screening questions and keeping that attendance for contact tracing. All right, so that's it for the COVID section. Other safety measures, we are looking at some bad weather. There's probably going to be some rain. So in case of lightning, I will blow the air horn 3 times to indicate that I've heard thunder or seen lightning. Whenever we follow the rules that when thunder roars, go indoors, which means if we even hear thunder, I'm stopping games and everybody's going to the lightning shelters. So there are lightning shelters at the fire hall. There's a lightning shelter at the pavilion behind field 21. I should say the fire hall is between fields 14 and 15. And your vehicles that you arrive in are also good lightning shelters, as long as you stay inside them with the windows up. All right, and so I'm hoping there won't be any lightning, even though we are expecting rain. Communication about how to restart games will occur if this happens via social media and via the schedule page. So you can just go to the schedule and there'll be a tab that says emergency communication, and that's where the communication about how to restart the games will happen. Okay. Competition. So the schedules are out. All games have a point cap of 13, half at 7. There's a hard cap after 70 minutes. So that means when the horn blows after 70 minutes, that you finish the point that's in progress, and only if it's tied do you play one more point. Okay. Halftime is 5 minutes in length. There are 2 timeouts per half. There's no need to win by 2. There's no overtime. For pools of 3, unfortunately have the possibility of an unbreakable tie. 3-way ties, and that means that all teams will finish 1-1 and have and all games finish with the exact same score. In order to avoid this, at the conclusion of the second round robin game, if the score of the first two games are identical and one team is 1-1, then an additional point must be played. This point does not count into the score of the game. This point is only used in the event of an unbreakable three-way tie, where the winner of that point finishes first in the pool, the loser finishes third in the pool, and the team that didn't play that point is second place in the pool. I think with the way I've set up the schedule, this is unlikely to happen, but I will be monitoring closely all the pools of three to watch for this, and I'll hopefully be around to help you see if you need this point to be played. Okay, this is very important. Games start and end with the horn, no exceptions. Okay, so if you see me standing out there with the horn, do not start your game because your watch says 9 o'clock. We need all the games to start and end at the same time so that teams have equal rest and for their buys and then time between games. We also don't want teams having the opportunity to play more points in a game if the tiebreaker point differential matters. So start your game with the horn, end your game with the horn. That's it. That's all. Okay. It did happen at UCI that I saw a game start before a horn. I ran over. They scored a point. I said, that point doesn't count. You have to restart. Hey, the horn hadn't gone yet. So wait for the horn. Otherwise, I might take a point off your game. Okay, forfeits. Forfeits are only allowed when the game is the last game of the tournament for both teams. In the case of a double forfeit, final standings will be resolved with UC tiebreakers. If teams choose to forfeit, a score sheet must still be submitted. Teams must have 5 legal players on the field to play. Teams with 7 players on the line may count points at a rate of 1 point per 5 minutes, while the opponent is unable to field 5 legal players. Once 7 points have been scored in this manner, the game is forfeited. If a team forfeits a game that is not the last game of the tournament for both teams, in most cases, they will be disqualified from the rest of the tournament. The competition director, that's me, can make exceptions. For instance, if a flight was delayed or a team's bus was in an accident on the way to the field, something like that. But I do expect teams to play the games on the schedule. This is a matter of fairness. Some teams have traveled a long way to get these games in. Just because you're local and decided to sleep in Sunday morning is not fair to the team that flew across the country to play these games. Okay. In cases of inclement weather or unforeseen circumstances that force the end of games before the hard cap and rescheduling of the games is impossible, a game can be considered final by me if either team has reached 7 points or 30 minutes have been played. I really hope I don't have to use this, but in case of a lightning delay that goes on into after dark, then I might have to use something like this. For CUUCs in the past, I've usually been able to reschedule Saturday games for Sunday morning, and when these sorts of things happen. But we never know. There could be so much rain that the field conditions require closing fields, in which case games could be stopped and not be able to be restarted. Okay. Swearing directed at an opponent, observer, or volunteer is never permitted. That could get you ejected from the tournament. All celebrations must be PG and respectful. They should never be directed at an opponent in a way they might infer disrespect. This has been an issue at CUUCs in the past, so keep your celebrations contained within your own team. Be happy with your team. Don't rub it in against your opponents. Okay, we're going to be collecting scores via an online form this year. This is a different form than we've used in the past. It's a much simpler form, and I think it worked pretty well at the UCI events. This will usually be filled out. This should be filled out immediately after your game finishes. Should be the very first thing you do as a team. The score sheet includes the spirit scores, so it might be the responsibility of your spirit captain to do that. But the role should be clearly defined within your team to ensure it gets done as soon as possible after every game. I spend most of my tournament chasing after teams that didn't fill in their score sheets. I don't want that to happen for much longer. I want teams to fill out the form immediately after their games. You will see, if you don't have the link saved in your phone from the schedule, you can find it at the top of the schedule on the All Games tab. There'll be a link that says Online Score Form. But if you can't get to that link, there'll be QR codes like this set up all over the site that you can use to scan into your phone, and that'll take you to the form. This one might be left over from UCI. It might not link to the ones that we have, but the ones that will be posted on site in Brampton will take you to the correct spot to enter your results. If you see me wandering around with my clipboard and waving this at you, it's because you haven't entered your results, and I need you to do that right away. Okay. While we're on the topic of score reporting, the spirit sheets, there are 5 questions on a spirit sheet. They are answered on a scale of 0 to 4. The questions are rules knowledge, fouls and body contact, fair-mindedness, positive attitude and self-control, and communication. So a normal score after a game is 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So I expect to see almost all game sheets come in with a score of 10 being 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. If something incorrect happened, you might drop it down to 1. If something exceptional happened, you might move it up to 3. If I see score sheets come in with 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, 4, that's not a valid score. You haven't taken the process seriously. And I will be coming to find you to tell you to resubmit your score sheet in an appropriate manner. The same is true with 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. That is not an appropriate score. Even if you had an awful game, it is likely because of 1 or 2 of these categories are incorrect. If ever you want to submit either a 0 or a 4 on your score sheet, that is allowed, but you have to fill in a comment that explains why you've chosen to do that. If the comment is just great game, that's not sufficient for a 4. There needs to be a clear explanation of why they've earned a 4, which is something that is very difficult to do. Okay. And last thing, at the bottom of the online form, you'll see a place to put the submitter's name. That counts as the signature to make the score sheet official. Okay. Spectator policy. For the 2021 CUUC, spectators will be permitted but not encouraged. They should not be around the teams. There are many teams at this event that have a strict no spectator policy. So if spectators do show up, they absolutely have to stay away from teams. For the turf fields, this will be easy because they're fenced in, and we will be checking bracelets before people enter the turf fields. For the grass fields, because it's a public park, we can't monitor every piece of the park. But if you see people coming to watch your games, you can politely ask them to stay 8 meters away from the sidelines or 5 meters behind the benches, whichever is largest. Spectators can also sit behind the end zone, but again, they should be 5 meters away from the back of the end zones. And any spectators that are hanging around should absolutely be vaccinated and practice physical distancing and even wear masks. Ultimate Canada reserves the right to restrict spectating on site. So if we see people that aren't respecting our rules, we'll ask them to leave. Lastly, there's an opportunity to volunteer. At the bottom of your cabins package, you can see the link. If you want to have anybody that be added to the bracelet group, then we can have them volunteer. We need help setting up fields, taking down fields, collecting score sheets, or I should say following up with teams to submit score sheets. And of course, the check-in is going to be a lot of work. So if we have volunteers that want to come and help us with the vaccine checking, they can earn a bracelet by being a volunteer. Okay, I think I've gone through the whole captain's package. I still only see about a dozen people here. Do any of you have questions that you would like to ask? Okay, I don't see any questions coming in right now. I will say, even though this is a captain's meeting, There's no reason that you can't send this information in this video out to everyone on your team. It's good information for everyone to know. So you can share this video quietly with everyone that you think is coming to the event. But if I'm not getting any other questions, I might sign off. You can leave some questions in the comments if you're not watching this live, and I'll try to follow up and look at them. But otherwise, good luck, everyone, and we'll see you in Brampton.